Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something powerful today. Being chosen is a lonely journey. A woman who is called by God, anointed for a purpose, and destined for greatness will always find herself walking alone, not because she wants to, but because the weight of her calling demands it. People will misunderstand her, friends will leave, even family will question her decisions. And there will be moments when she will cry out, "God, why am I alone?" But listen to me. Isolation is the price of elevation. If you are a woman who feels like you don't fit in, like you don't belong, like the road you are walking is too lonely, this message is for you. Stay with me, because by the end of this speech, you will understand why your loneliness is not a curse, but a divine strategy. Every woman chosen by God must first be separated before she is elevated. This is a principle woven throughout Scripture and evident in the lives of those who walked in divine purpose. When God calls a woman, he does not immediately place her in the spotlight. Instead, he pulls her away, isolates her, and prepares her in secret. The process of separation is not meant to harm her, but to refine her, shaping her into the vessel he needs for his purpose. Many women struggle with this phase because it feels like rejection. It feels like being forgotten, overlooked, or abandoned. But in reality, it is God's way of setting the stage for what is to come. Look at Esther. Before she became queen, she was removed from her people, taken into the king's palace, and placed in a season of preparation. She did not choose this process, but it was necessary. If she had remained where she was, she would have never stepped into her calling to save a nation. The same is true for Ruth. She had to leave Moab, walk away from her past, and step into the unknown before she could be positioned for greatness. Had she stayed in the comfort of what was familiar, she would have never entered the lineage of Christ. A chosen woman cannot stay where she is and expect to fulfill her destiny. Separation is a prerequisite for elevation. When God separates a woman, he does so because there are things in her current environment that cannot go where he is taking her. There are relationships, mindsets, and even habits that must be stripped away before she can step into the fullness of her calling. This is why some friendships begin to fade. This is why certain doors close. This is why the things that once made sense no longer feel right. God is pulling her out because she has outgrown the place she is in. If she refuses to let go, she will delay the very thing she has been praying for. Many women feel lonely in this season, questioning why they are no longer included, why people they loved have walked away, and why life feels like it is moving in a completely different direction. But the truth is, elevation requires separation. A woman destined for greatness cannot be surrounded by those who do not understand her vision. She cannot remain in a place that limits her growth. Separation is not punishment. It is protection. It is God's way of ensuring that nothing interferes with what he is about to do. There is a reason why eagles do not fly in flocks. They are designed to soar at higher altitudes, and the air is too thin for other birds to follow. A chosen woman is like an eagle. She cannot remain in the crowd because she is designed for something greater. The loneliness she feels today is temporary, but the elevation that follows will be undeniable. If God is separating her, it is because he is preparing her for something far beyond what she can see. A chosen woman carries something inside her that others cannot see. She is burdened with a vision, a calling, and a divine assignment that sets her apart from those around her. This burden is not light, it is heavy, consuming, and often misunderstood. She sees what others do not see, hears what others do not hear, and feels the weight of something far greater than herself. This is why she often finds herself walking alone. It is not because she is unworthy of companionship, but because the magnitude of her calling demands a level of focus and consecration that few can comprehend. The burden of purpose isolates her, not to break her, but to prepare her. When a woman is chosen, she begins to realize that her desires, Her conversations and even her priorities no longer align with those of the people around her. She feels a disconnect, not because she is arrogant or superior, but because she is operating on a different frequency. She is drawn to deeper things, craving wisdom, revelation, and purpose, while those around her remain content with surface-level living. The weight of what she carries separates her, making it difficult to relate to others in the same way she once did. She finds herself longing for meaningful conversations, spiritual encounters, and divine connections, yet struggling to find people who truly understand her journey. The burden of purpose also means that she will face opposition. The moment she begins to walk in her calling, resistance arises. People question her motives, challenge her decisions, and even try to discourage her from pursuing what God has placed in her heart. Some will label her as too ambitious, too deep, or too different. They will not understand why she refuses to settle, why she continues to push forward despite adversity, and why she is willing to let go of comfort for the sake of her assignment. This is the reality of a chosen woman. She is often misunderstood because she carries something that is not meant for everyone to understand. She may find herself weeping in private, wrestling with God, and wondering why the very people she expected to support her are the ones who reject her the most. But this too is part of the process. God allows this isolation because He needs her to depend solely on Him. If she were to receive validation from people, she might be tempted to rely on their approval rather than His guidance. The burden of purpose forces her to seek God with desperation, to lean into His presence, and to trust His plan even when the road ahead is unclear. She begins to understand that her burden is not a curse, but a gift. It is a sign that God has entrusted her with something significant, something that has the power to transform lives. Though she walks alone, she is never truly alone, for God walks with her. Every tear, every sacrifice, and every lonely moment is shaping her into the woman she was destined to be. The burden may be heavy, but the reward of fulfilling her purpose will be greater than anything she could ever imagine. A chosen woman must understand that isolation is not a punishment, it is a training ground. When God sets her apart, it is not to break her, but to build her. It is in isolation that He sharpens her vision, strengthens her faith, and refines her character. This process is uncomfortable because it strips away everything she once relied on, familiar relationships, old mindsets, and even her own plan. She may feel abandoned, but in reality, she is being positioned. God is not removing her from people to hurt her. He is removing distractions so she can hear His voice more clearly. When a woman is called to do something great, she cannot afford to be surrounded by noise. She must go through a season where she learns to depend on God alone. Isolation forces a woman to confront herself. Without the opinions of others clouding her mind, she begins to see herself through God's eyes. This is where transformation happens. In the silence, He speaks to her. In the stillness, He reveals her purpose. In the loneliness, He teaches her to trust Him completely. She may feel like nothing is happening, but in the unseen realm, everything is shifting. Just as a seed must be buried in the dark before it can grow, a chosen woman must go through seasons of obscurity before she can step into the light. If she resists the process, she will delay the very thing she is praying for. Many women struggle in this season because they mistake isolation for rejection. They assume that because people have walked away, God has forgotten them. But that is far from the truth. The ones who left were not meant to go where she is going. God is intentional about who He allows to walk with her. And if He removes someone, it is because their assignment in her life is complete. Instead of mourning who left, she must focus on who remains. God, this is the season where He becomes her closest companion, her guide, and her source of strength. Isolation is also a time of preparation. Before Esther became queen, she spent a year being prepared in the palace. Before Joseph ruled, he endured years of imprisonment and betrayal. Before Jesus stepped into his ministry, he was led into the wilderness. A chosen woman must go through a process where she is trained, disciplined, and molded into who she was created to be. It is in these hidden seasons that God equips her with the wisdom, resilience, and endurance she will need for the journey ahead. If she tries to skip this phase, she will step into her calling unprepared, and what was meant to elevate her could crush her. Eventually, the season of isolation comes to an end, and when it does, she emerges stronger, wiser, and ready for what God has called her to do. The loneliness she once despised becomes the foundation of her strength. She realizes that isolation was never meant to destroy her, it was meant to develop her. And now, because she embraced the training ground, she is ready to walk boldly in her purpose. A chosen woman must understand that not everyone can walk at her pace. The path she walks is not ordinary, and because of that, very few can keep up with her. When God places a calling on a woman's life, He gives her a divine timeline that is different from those around her. She moves according to His schedule, not the world's. This means she will often find herself out of sync with the people she once related to. She will notice that while others are content with waiting, she feels an urgency to move. While others are focused on temporary pleasures, she is consumed with purpose. This difference creates distance, not because she is trying to separate herself from others, but because her assignment requires a different level of discipline and focus. Many women struggle with this reality because they assume that true friendships and relationships should last forever. But when a woman is called, she must understand that some people are only meant to walk with her for a season. There will be those who started the journey with her but cannot continue because they are not equipped to handle the weight of where she is going. Some will slow her down. Some will try to distract her. Some will even discourage her from moving forward, not out of malice, but because they do not understand her calling. A chosen woman must recognize that she cannot afford to be tied to people who do not share her vision. The pace at which she moves is set by God, and that means there will be times when she has to walk alone. This is not a sign that something is wrong with her. It is a sign that she is walking in alignment with her purpose. If she waits for others to catch up, she risks delaying her own destiny. If she tries to slow down to make others comfortable, she risks missing divine opportunities. God did not call her to fit in. He called her to lead, to break barriers, and to set a new standard. That kind of journey requires speed, endurance, and determination. A woman chosen by God cannot waste time convincing people to support her. She cannot be distracted by those who do not understand her urgency. She must learn to discern the difference between those who are assigned to walk with her and those who are merely passing through. When she embraces this truth, she stops seeking approval from those who were never meant to validate her. She stops explaining herself to those who will never understand her path. She stops feeling guilty for moving forward while others remain stagnant. She will realize that walking at God's pace is the only way to fulfill her purpose. She may have to leave some people behind, but she will also gain divine connections with those who are running the same race. Those who cannot walk at her pace are not meant to go where she is going. And when she reaches her destination, she will understand why God required her to move differently.
A chosen woman must understand that walking alone is not a sign of failure, but a pathway to greater impact. Some of the most powerful women in history, both in the Bible and in modern times, had to walk alone before they could step into their calling. Their isolation was not a mistake, it was a divine setup for something greater. When God calls a woman to a higher purpose, He removes unnecessary attachments, distractions, and influences that could hinder her destiny. This separation is necessary because the weight of her assignment requires absolute focus and unwavering faith. There is a reason why eagles do not fly in flocks. Eagles are designed to soar at higher altitudes where the air is thin. Most birds cannot survive at that level. Likewise, a chosen woman cannot remain in the company of those who are not built for where she is going. She is called to higher places, and not everyone is equipped to handle that elevation. If she tries to take everyone with her, she will either exhaust herself trying to carry them, or she will be forced to descend to their level. She must understand that her isolation is not a rejection. It is preparation for something far greater than she can currently see. Walking alone forces a woman to develop strength, resilience, and deep trust in God. She learns to make decisions without relying on the approval of others. She develops a level of focus that allows her to pursue her purpose without distractions. She gains the confidence to stand firm in her convictions, even when no one else understands. This process is necessary because the impact she is called to make requires her to be a leader, not a follower. She cannot afford to be swayed by opinions, discouraged by opposition, or slowed down by unnecessary attachments. Her journey is different, and because of that, her process must also be different. Many women resist this season because they associate loneliness with weakness. They long for companionship, support, and affirmation from others. But the truth is, some assignments require solitude. Some visions are so big that they can only be birthed in secret. Some dreams are so significant that they require a season of complete focus before they can manifest. If a woman embraces this process, she will come out stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the impact she is destined to make. Eventually, when the time is right, God will bring the right people into her life, people who understand her journey, who support her vision, and who are equipped to walk alongside her at the right pace. But until then, she must walk boldly in her purpose, knowing that her isolation is temporary and her impact is eternal. She is not alone. She is chosen. And her willingness to walk alone today will lead to a legacy that will inspire generations to come. What she builds in solitude will become the foundation for something far greater than she ever imagined. Walking alone is not a setback. It is a setup for something extraordinary. Yeah, I listen to me. A chosen woman always walks alone, but that loneliness is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of divine positioning. God is setting you apart, not to break you, but to prepare you. The loneliness you feel today will become the testimony you share tomorrow. So keep walking, keep trusting, keep believing. Because when the time comes, the same people who doubted you will have no choice but to witness the greatness God placed inside you. You are not alone, you are chosen, and your best days are still ahead of you. If this message has blessed you, share it with another chosen woman who needs to hear it. God is raising up women who are ready to walk alone until it's time to rise.